In Venezuela, citizens commemorate the 22nd anniversary of the arrival of Commander Hugo Chavez Frias to Miraflores on April 13 of 2002 after the coup d'etat and his kidnapping. In Palestine, Israeli fighter jets attacked for a third consecutive day the Nusrat camp in central Gaza Strip. And in Russia, authorities report a new Ukrainian attack on the Zaporozhye region, killing over 8 people and leaving dozens wounded. Hello, welcome to From the South. I am Irma Shelton from teleSUR studio in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Saturday, April 13, people in Venezuela gathered to observe the 22nd anniversary of the triumph of the Civic-Military Union, which rescued President Hugo Chavez Frias after having been kidnapped following the coup on April 11 of 2002. Venezuelans have taken to streets as they did 22 years ago to commemorate the day when the people and the army became one to demand the return of President Hugo Chavez. On these occasions, they raised their voices in support of the Bolivarian Revolution, President Nicolás Maduro, and against foreign interference that continues to undermine the nation's sovereignty. This date represents the rebirth of the Bolivarian Revolution.
April 13th is the day of the rebirth of the revolution. Our commander left us a message that opened our minds, our conscience, our hearts, to us women. As with Chavez, now women support Nicolás in his struggle, and we will keep on winning. We are a free democratic country where freedom reigns, the freedom of the nation, of Venezuelans. That is why I tell all Venezuelans to be safeguarded, that freedom for the children, for the coming generations. Venezuela is ours, and it should be respected, and we have to defend it at all costs.
Now let's go over a summary of these paramount events 22 years ago in the following report.
After President Chavez was kidnapped on April 12, 2002 by traitorous business and military leaders, the right wing had taken control of the government palace in Miraflores, while the people were subjected to a media campaign and false news that gave an account of the supposed legality of the new coup government. It was not until April 13, when the Venezuelan people, tired of the media manipulation and abrupt control of the de facto government in the hands of the businessman Pedro Carmona Estanga, led a powerful demonstration to safeguard the constitutional order. Demonstrators denounced the kidnapping of Chavez and demanded the return of the constitutionally elected president. El Cerro Bajo, this was the name given to the popular mobilization that was strengthened after the letter from Comandante Chavez, in which he affirmed that he had not resigned. A group of soldiers loyal to the Bolivarian Revolution rescued the president, Commander Hugo Chavez, in perfect civic-military union, who was kidnapped in the island of La Orchila. Amidst tears of joy, the Venezuelan people awaited the arrival of Chavez and his return to the government palace, and where he asked the sectors that opposed him to engage in dialogue and unity of the country.
El pueblo llegó a este palacio para no irse más.
The people came to this palace to never leave again. And it has been proven. Speaking of the people, I must say to you that what has happened in Venezuela in these last hours is truly unprecedented in the world. The Venezuelan people and its true soldiers, the Venezuelan people and its armed forces, those soldiers of the people have written And these are not empty words.
han escrito, y esto no es grandilocuencia,
It is a truth, a new page,
una página,
and what a great
una
page
nueva página.
for Venezuelan history.
Qué gran página para la historia venezolana.
Hacia la democracia. La
On April the 13th, 2000 to set a precedent in world and Latin American history. Never before had a people succeeded in restoring democratic order. Almost always the military were the main conspirators against democracy in Venezuela. The example was different. The coup d'état was neutralized by the civil military unit.
Meanwhile, in Cuba, political and social movements met with the diplomatic mission of Venezuela to recall the importance of the role played by the island in the coup d'état on April of 2002 in that country. The meeting defended the need to preserve a historical memory on the coup d'état against then President Hugo Chavez and the siege to the Cuban embassy in Venezuela. They also recall important moments between the two nations and reiterate their recognition to President Nicolás Maduro for his position facing international media attacks that promote coups and violate the citizens' will.
The Bolivarian government after 2002 has faced a sequence of continuous coups that has not stopped yet. The danger of a coup against the Bolivarian revolution has not yet ceased, just as the danger of attack or invasion to Cuba and of aggression against the Cuban revolution and the attempt to defeat it by all possible means has never ended.
That battle we were waging was not only to save Chavez, nor was it only to save the Bolivarian Revolution of Venezuela, was to save the events that were coming for Latin America. Chavez had won, Lula had already won, and processes were coming later that would change the dynamics of this continent.
In Colombia, President Gustavo Petro keeps pushing for a health care reform. On Friday, speaking at an open town hall meeting in the city of Cartagena in the Bolívar department, President Petro urged the members of the Colombian Congress to support the health care reform. Petro said that doing so, it would be a way for the legislators to get closer with the people. In his speech at the town hall meeting, Petro touched upon other issues that also pertain to health care, like the availability of sustainable sources of clean water.
I ask the members of Congress present here to support the health reform on Monday, because it is the same as to save the people. Congress should reconcile with the people.
Now let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome to From the House. In Haiti, the Presidential Transition Council was installed amidst a climate of violence that the country has been experiencing in recent months. The publishing of the decree, in addition to officially establishing the newly formed body, makes effective the resignation of Ariel Henry as Prime Minister. The appointment of the head of governments is one of the first missions to be carried out by the Council, comprised of 7 members plus 2 observers, who together with the appointed Prime Minister will lead a provisional government of national unity with the aim of restoring order and democratic legitimacy. The United Nations organizations warned of record levels of hunger in Haiti as armed violence in the Caribbean nation continues. The director of the United Nations World Food Programme, Jean-Martin Bauer, explained that the organization is doing its best to feed over 170,000 people. However, he denounced that the work has been interrupted by a slowdown due to the closure of Haiti's main port and airport. In this regard, he stressed the need to immediately open the port of the capital to bring in fresh supplies and guarantee the continuity of our programs. On Friday, Mexico has formally filed a complaint against the government of Ecuador before United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. The complaint is prompted by the serious violations in which the Republic of Ecuador incurred on last April 5th, and it was filed by Hector Vasconcelos, Mexico ambassador to United Nations, based on sufficient evidence and in keeping with Resolution 727/108, Mexico expects the necessary measures to be taken, and they may even take the matter before the United Nations Security Council so that such events are never repeated. Hours prior to the actual filing of the complaints, Mexico Foreign Affairs Minister made the text of the complaint public at the president's daily morning press briefing.
First, to judge Ecuador and to declare it responsible for the damage that violations of its international obligations have caused and continue to cause to Mexico. Second, the suspension of Ecuador as a member of United Nations until they issue a public apology that may guarantee reparation for the moral damage inflicted to the Mexican state and its nationals.
In Argentina, the latest studies that measure poverty indicate almost 60% of the citizens are below the poverty line, a problem that has worsened with the policies implemented by the President Javier Milei. Our correspondent Santiago Correid went to a soup kitchen to talk to those who suffer from this problem, but also to show us those people who give their best from the soup kitchen. Let's see.
The situation of poverty in working-class neighborhoods is on the rise, and in the absence of government aid, social organizations are taking action and seeking solutions.
La Poderosa tiene un montón de espacios comunitarios donde...
La Poderosa has a lot of community centers that have dining rooms, soup kitchens, public high school, soccer centers, women's and dissident centers, which is the fundamental thing we need in the different neighborhoods. And we also have the Nodo space, where all the children go to receive their school aid. At this moment, the biggest problem we are experiencing in Argentina is the food problem, and is a problem we have been fighting for a long time. But it has depended even more in this time, in this new change of government, where it stopped being visible and it stopped being important. It is really an emergency because the government does not want to take it as such. But we know that the priority and the most important thing today is this, is the food emergency we are experiencing in Argentina.
In order for this situation to be addressed as a priority, during 2023, they presented a bill to recognize women working in the territories.
Y ahora, este año...
And now, this year, we did not go out to complain about why the project was not approved. We went out to demand that at least the merchandise be sent to our community kitchens, to see that the kitchens exist. The kitchens are real. Here, in all the neighborhoods, that the need of the hungry is here, that we as cooks, workers of the community spaces exist, and that we have been working a lot of hours.
A clear example of this commitment is Nelly Vargas, who for 33 years at the head of the Evita dining room has been receiving dozens of people in need of a plate of food.
I dedicate myself to this, to organize food, to get up every day or to think at night about what I'm going to do the next day. So much so that sometimes I dream about what to cook and what to do. My dreams are in this place because I'm the one who decides the dishes. I'm like a mom who gets up, I see what's there, what I have to cook, I improvise. We are working badly because we are working with the products that they give us for tomorrow, and I made it today with a lot of difficulties.
Despite everything, she and her colleagues continue to forge ahead with the utmost determination.
Nothing is going to bring us down, because we are here with all our strength and all our will, knowing that we have to continue for those who need us. We are not going to give up, and what I tell you is what I feel, because I don't read speeches about anything. It comes from my heart because the beginning is suffering as a child, the need, not having a plate of food like the one I wanted. This is what makes this my thing. I wouldn't change it for anything. It is difficult to make ends meet, but we are still here.
This is the same scenario in each of the 44,000 soup kitchens that do not receive the necessary government support and are a postcard of the difficult situation throughout the country.
Santiago Corey, teleSUR, Argentina.
We have now a financial break coming up, but before, we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news, coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Financial break. Don't go away. Welcome back from the south. In Palestine, Israeli fighters' jets attacked for third consecutive day the Nusrat camp in central Gaza Strip. Local media report that during the attacks, dozens of civilians were wounded, some of them very seriously. The occupation regime's army also renewed its artillery bombardment against the United Nations volunteers' coup, which housed displaced people, resulting in damage to the infrastructure. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, at least 33,603 civilians have been killed, while over 76,214 have been injured since October of 2023. Israeli settler militias attacked dozens of civilians with gunfire and set on fire several houses in the village of Duma, south of Nablus city. According to local media reports, the situation resulted in clashes between settlers and Israeli civilians who were shot with live ammunition while trying to defend themselves from the attack. A similar event was also reported in the occupied West Bank, where Israeli settler attacks left one dead and an undetermined number of people wounded. These actions also coincide with the generalized operation by occupation forces. The armed forces of Iran's Guardian Corps confiscate a cargo ship linked to the Israeli regime in the Persian Gulf. The Iranian Command Corps landed from helicopters on a deck of a vessel named Mr. Aries in the Hormuz Strait. The ship, which was operating under the Portuguese flag and with a crew of at least 25 people, is reported to be managed by an Israeli company known as Soviet Maritime. On the other hand, the event took place in the midst of an ongoing escalation between Tehran and Tel Aviv regime in response to the Israeli attack against the Iranian consulate in Damascus, where 13 people were killed. A new attack on the Zaporozhye region by the Ukrainian army has left at least 8 people dead and dozens wounded. On Saturday, local authorities report that the Ukrainian army attacked the Turkmen residential district. Among the fatalities, there were 2 children, and at least another 13 people were wounded. Authorities say the wounded and their families will receive help, but that the threat of a new Ukrainian attacks remains. They also said that as a result of the attacks, at least 25 houses and 9 buildings in the area no longer have gas supply. Also in Russia, several people were injured following a Ukrainian attack with Storm Shadow cruise missiles on a machine factory in the city of Lugansk. According to local authorities, the attack also hit residential areas near the factory. They said the exact number of victims and the severity of their injuries is still unknown. And we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I am Irma Shelton. Thank you for watching.